ClickUp's. In this video, we'll be reviewing what that is, and again, what are the different options of ClickUp's that are available inside your ClickUp workspace. And my goal for this video is not really to tell you how to use each and every one of them, because again, there are many ClickUp's that you can enable or disable in your account, but just to give you an idea of what is available inside your ClickUp workspace, because many people subscribe to ClickUp and they never understand what ClickUp's are and how to use them to the best of their advantage. So in this video, this is the question that we'll be breaking down. So let's dive into this. In order to access and see what ClickUp's are available right now and kind of see all the options that we have inside our ClickUp account, we need to open ClickUp workspace that we're working in. Click on that workspace icon in the left top corner of our screen and then navigate to App Center. Now, as soon as you open, this is the pop-up window that you're going to see. The top part of this window is going to browse all the applications or all the apps, which is basically all the integrations or the native integrations that ClickUp built inside the application. Now, this is not the purpose of today's video. We will be navigating to something that we see down here, which is called ClickUp's. Now, we can click on all ClickUp's over here. The way it shows is absolutely similar to all the integrations that you saw at the top over there, but over here you can see we have dozens of ClickUp's that we'll be reviewing today and seeing whether it makes sense for you to use it or not inside your workspace. Now, we're going to start with the All ClickUp's tab over here. You can obviously go here and switch to different types of Click applications that are available by type, for example, AI and search, collaboration, sprints. I like to open all ClickUp's to see all of them available here. Let's just go and start from the very top and see what's available to us and how can we use it to improve the way we use ClickUp. The first couple of them is the AI and search features or AI and search applications. Now here you can see that you can enable or disable AI in ClickUp. And again, ClickUp, most of the time this comes by default turned on. The main reason why you might want to turn it off is if you don't want to pay for AI credits inside your ClickUp account, because again, AI credits are not for free. And the same happens with AI note taker and automation. So those things you have to pay for, even though you have some credits that come together with your subscription, monthly subscription. If you want to use more of them, you will have to pay more for those credits. AI note taker is essentially something that can join your meetings. So if you connect your Google Calendar or Outlook calendar, AI note taker can join your meetings and just record your meetings instead of you recording them inside your Google Meet. Now, it also records these meetings inside your ClickUp, but again, be mindful, it's going to use your AI credits. In order to see the AI credits that you have available, and this is just something that you need to be mindful of, go to the right-hand side or the top right corner, click on your icon over here, click on settings, go to AI usage, and you will see again all this the AI credits that you have available. For now, I have 2,000 credits, which are giving for me for free, and I think this is something that's giving to every single user. If you want to use more, you will need to add credits by adding them, purchasing a monthly subscription for $10 a month, or having a custom amount of AI credits added. But again, AI credits are not for free. This is the main point I wanted to make. Be mindful that when you're using those AI and you're enabling AI inside your workspace. The other parts is we also have the automation and connected search. Now, all of these items are enabled by default. I cannot think of cases where you want to disable automation. Automation can be a pretty powerful part of your ClickUp setup, especially when used correctly. For connected search, this is something that ClickUp released recently. If you connect your applications, like your Google Drive or Dropbox, to your ClickUp account, ClickUp search functionality will be able to search items inside those applications or platforms as well. So again, that is turned on by default. You might want to turn it off. Again, it's not going to affect anything really. If you don't have any accounts connected, you might not want to about even turning this off here. The second batch of all the ClickUp's that we have available is called collaboration. Most of them are enabled by default. For example, chat feature. This is why many companies lately switched from Slack to ClickUp, because of this new functionality that they enable. Just in case you might want to disable this, click on this checkbox here. It will disable it. Clip, record, and share. So what this does, and it actually mentioned this, is replaces Loom. So you can record your clips inside your ClickUp account. This is enabled by default. And again, I don't think you will ever need to disable this, but it basically replaces your Loom subscription. The only downside is it doesn't allow you to record your face. So if you want to talk on camera, you will not be able to do this. It only records your screen. So it's kind of the only downside and the difference between Loom and this record and share functionality. Also gives the comment reactions, which are turned on by default. We have the default private views. Now, this is something that all the new views that you're creating inside your ClickUp account are going to be private. And if you want to turn them on or kind of show them to your team, you'll have to switch that to being public instead of private. Now, it can be pretty annoying. This is why it's turned off by default. But just in case you're creating a lot of views and you want to have that flexibility, you have that option in here. You also have the emails inside your ClickUp tasks. Now, this is turned on just in case you don't have this available and you've heard of the feature where you can send emails from within your ClickUp tasks. You need to go navigate here and turn this on, because this will enable you to have that button inside the task to actually send those emails to people from within your task. You'll have to connect your Gmail account, but that is pretty much it. Then you can send emails from the comment section inside your task. Jiffy, this is something I've never used probably. This is again for making ClickUp more fun, not really much functional. You can also preview Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. Again, pretty basic. You can turn this off. Probably will not have to, but this is just turned on by default. You also have the pulse. It tells you what are the users and who are the users that are online and what they are doing. So again, can be visible to members only, can be visible to admins only. It can be great for you to see what people are actually working on and where they're spending most of their time on, if your team is using ClickUp correctly, and you can rely on that information. Pulse is actually part of the dashboards, and you can add it in there and see all that information in the dashboards. If you disable that, right, or if you disable this will not be just part of the additional view that you can create or part of the dashboard that you can add inside your account. You have threaded comments, which it became like mostly the default functionality. So this is turned on by default. And you can also see who is online. Now, if you don't want people to see when you're logging into ClickUp or when someone else is using ClickUp, turn this thing on just by unchecking this button, because sometimes it can become annoying. Most people prefer to see when their team members are online. Sometimes it's not the case. So again, this is the place where I turn this off. All right, so now the scheduling and dates. This can become extremely powerful and extremely important when you're trying to plan your tasks ahead of time. So for example, the first thing is the duration. The duration of the task lets you set how many days do you need for that task to be completed. For example, it's separate from the estimate. It's not the estimate. It's what determines what's going to be your due date based on your start date. So if you were to select that this task is going to take 10 days, the start date for today, the due date is going to be 10 days from today. I'm not using that a lot in any of the ClickUp setups that I've done personally, but again, it can be pretty powerful when you're trying to plan your tasks and you want to have a lot of flexibility in terms of rescheduling your tasks over time for the project. We have another important component, which is remapping subtask due dates. Now, this really depends on the structure you have in ClickUp, but if your project tasks, for example, are structured in a way that they are subtasks to the project task, so all the action items are subtasks and your project task is kind of the main task in your list, then remapping the subtask due dates can be or is better to be enabled on, because when you're rescheduling your task or you're changing the due date for the main task, right, all the subtask due dates are going to be rescheduled automatically based on how many days out did you schedule the main task. So again, it's kind of this dependency between the subtasks and the main task. You can turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. You can also trigger even when subtasks are closed. This way the due date is going to be rescheduled even if the subtasks inside the task are closed as well. I've never used this option honestly, because if the task is closed, you might not want to reschedule, or subtask is closed, you might not want to reschedule those subtasks, but might be helpful for different use cases. The reschedule dependency is basically very similar to subtask rescheduling as well, but it is when tasks are linked using the relationship or the dependency instead of being a subtask of a single task. So in this case, when you're creating and you're saying this task is blocking the next task and you're rescheduling the one task that should happen before the next task, again, that will reschedule the due date of the following task as well, based on the dependencies that you have set up inside those tasks. Now, you can enable or disable those things. This is enabled by default, and I think becomes pretty powerful when you're again managing the timelines for your project. The skipping non-working days. Now, this is something that might be helpful and actually can be helpful to many teams when you don't want the due date to be on your weekends, right? Sometimes when you're scheduling your task, and this really happens when you're rescheduling your due dates automatically, on where you have an automation that sets the due date, and you don't want that due date to fall on the weekend because now no one is working. So this skip non-working days will automatically reschedule those dates to the following working day, let's say Monday, instead of keeping that for the weekend. Now, if you keep this turned off, and that by default it is turned off, you will have the due date set up for the weekends as well. So again, just be mindful of that whenever you're using this in automation or rescheduling dependencies. And then use relative dates. Now, this is something that many teams asked for, and I've seen a lot of discussions around this because people get annoyed when the due date inside the task, instead of saying the actual date, for example, October 27th, ClickUp says Friday, tomorrow, yesterday. So again, it can become really confusing. So what ClickUp did is now you can disable that to just see the specific date instead of having this Friday, tomorrow, or yesterday. It can become really powerful. And again, I have this turned off because I like to see Friday, tomorrow, or yesterday. Kind of is easy for me, but sometimes for bigger projects, when you have a lot of team members involved, you might want to turn this off to just see the exact day so no one is confused. Now, the sprints functionalities or the sprint ClickApps are used if you're using sprints inside ClickUp. Again, you can turn this on and enable that, enabling this per space. So in this case, you will have to choose the space for which the sprints are enabled. And then you can also have the sprint points, which are used in the sprint functionalities. Now, I'm not going to dive deeper into what sprints are because this is like a separate discussion, a separate topic for a different video. But if you're wondering where that sprint points functionality is and how to use it, make sure that you enable these things in ClickUp's before you dive into how to actually use sprints in ClickUp. The most basic stuff is under the tasks ClickUp. So here we can see the custom fields, the dependency warning, things that are turned on by default and that we're expecting from ClickUp as the default functionality. So custom fields, again, pretty obvious. No one wants to turn it off. Custom task IDs might be something that you want to do. Customize your task IDs to more easily reference items in ClickUp. So this way, when you're selecting the space, you can predefine the custom prefix. Let's say you have a specific list where you're storing all your campaigns. And in order for you to identify those campaigns, you want to call them like this. Something, I don't know, campaign, and you want to start the index from 1. So this way, the ID of all the tasks that you're creating in that list is going to be CMP or campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3, and it's going to iteratively go up and up and up with every single task that you're creating. You can even see this example. Your first ID will be CMP1. Again, makes it easier sometimes to reference tasks. I'm not a huge fan of it because people rarely use IDs to reference tasks. They rather use names, but this is one of the options that you can use inside your ClickUp account. Right, another example is the dependency warning. Now, this is something when you're closing the task and you still have some tasks that it is dependent on, not completed. So in this case, the warning is going to pop up. Now, if you don't want to be disturbed with that, turn that off over here. The same happens with the incomplete warning. You've probably seen this before. When you're completing your task and you still have some subtasks or some checkboxes or checklists, action items not completed, this incomplete warning is going to pop up, and actually works as well with open comments, and it will ask you if you want to close all the subtasks or if you want to close the task without closing the subtask. You can prevent this conflicts for incomplete subtasks. You can check which ones you want to prevent for. You can just turn it off if you don't really care, and if you want to just close the task and don't worry about the subtasks anymore. Multiple assignees. Now, many people are looking for this. And again, if you cannot assign multiple people to the task, find this over here. You might want to turn this off if you don't want multiple people to be assigned to the same task. I've spoken to a lot of teams, and some people do not like when multiple people are assigned to the task. So they say the responsibility is not clear. So in this case, you might want to disable this to not let people assign multiple people to the task. Sometimes you can see 4 or 3 people, 2 people assigned to the task, and no one knows who's actually responsible for moving things forward. So if you turn this off, only one person can be assigned to the task, and that person takes the lead and moves the work forward. All right, so now the next thing is nested subtasks. Subtasks is something that you might use or might not use inside your ClickUp. Over here, it allows you to add up to 7 levels of subtasks. Now, subtasks can become pretty annoying. I like to keep it up to 1 subtask level so that you can only create your main task, and then underneath you can create your subtask. Everything that goes under the subtasks are going to be either action items or something else. I don't like having multiple layers of subtasks, but depending on how you set up and configure your ClickUp and use it together with your team, you might want to enable multiple layers. It's enabled up to 7 by default. Again, sometimes team members are kind of getting excited and creating all 7 layers. So this is why you might want to restrict it to be just only 1 or 2 subtask levels instead of having 7. Now, another couple of things which are enabled by default, and I'm going to go through them very quickly, is not started status group. This is something that was previously disabled, so you could enable it if you wanted to. Right now it's enabled by default. You also have the personal priorities or lineup, which is previously created, can be found in your home page, on your home page in ClickUp. You have the priorities, which are again enabled by default. Show status progress, which again also shows you this kind of how far the task is inside the workflow based on the statuses that you have in that list, by filling the circles over here. So you can see that the statuses in the middle are kind of half or 50% done, and then you move through that workflow and it shows you this. This is a new thing. You might want to turn it off if it is annoying to you. It's not really annoying to me, so I have this turned on. You also have tags, which are pretty default functionality in many tools, and people expect this from ClickUp as well. And you have tasks in multiple lists as well. Now, this is when you're using the same task, you're just adding it to multiple locations for different people or for different team members to be able to see and keep track and keep an eye on that specific task. Now, there are different options of how you can use tasks in multiple lists. If you want to keep that functionality, or if you're looking for options to use or add your tasks to different locations, make sure to enable this thing here. If you don't want people to add tasks to different locations, make sure to disable it over here as well. And one of the last things that we have inside our ClickUp's is called time and capacity. Now, the time estimates is something that is enabled by default. Again, many people expect that from ClickUp and are using that in ClickUp, so you have that enabled here. Just in case you don't see this for your space, it is enabled for space, so go in here and make sure to select the space over here. You can also select the hours per day, which is going to be how it breaks down the estimate by day. So if you're saying that hours per day is going to be 9 or 12, if you're providing 24 hours as a time estimate, instead of saying 3 days, it can tell you 2 days, or it can say whatever the number of days that you put in there. You have time estimates roll up, which basically rolls up your time estimates from your subtasks into your main tasks. I think this is pretty important thing to have, because whenever you're structuring your tasks as having main task and then subtask, most of the time you want to have your estimates rolling up to the main task. So this is where you enable that functionality here. I don't think it actually is enabled by default, so make sure that you enable that if you're looking to have those estimates rolled up to the main task. Time tracking, which is by default. Again, if you want to disable that, you can find it here. You have time tracking roll up, which basically calculates the total time tracked based on the subtasks of a task. So again, the same applies here as with time estimates. If people are tracking time for the subtasks, that time tracked for the subtask is gonna account for in the main time tracker. So if people, let's say you have 5 subtasks and people track their time in those subtasks and they track 1 hour for each task, 5 hours is going to be tracked for the main task. So again, can be pretty important for your reporting functionalities or reporting purposes, and for you to actually see how much time you are spending on all these tasks. And then total time in status. So this is something that, again, is not maybe very powerful, but if you're looking to see how much time the task is spending in each status, you might want to do this for your service desk purposes to see how fast you're processing your requests. You want to enable that, because this will show you how many hours or days that specific task spent in that status. And I think it actually calculates in hours. So you can see that in to-do, or for example, backlog, that task spent 2 hours, then it was moved to in progress, spent 1 hour there, and then it was moved to completed, and now it is closed. All right, and the last ClickUp that we have over here is called work in progress limits. Now, this is applied to all the board views. Whenever you're using that, you might not want to have more than 5 tasks in progress. Now, this is most of the time used when you're using sprints or using agile methodology, right? And you don't want to let people move in progress more than 5 items. This is where you enable or disable that. So this way, your people cannot move all the tasks they have in backlog in progress, and then just, the progress usually stops there. So you might want to limit this to 3 tasks in progress or 5 tasks in progress, whatever makes more sense. And then people, if they already have 5 tasks in the in progress tab in board view, they will not be able to move more tasks unless they change the status of the in progress tasks that they already have. I know we reviewed a lot of things in this video, but hopefully it gave you a better understanding of what are all the additional functionalities that are available to you inside ClickUp, and how to disable some of the annoying things and features that you see inside your ClickUp account using the ClickUp's. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon.